Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday, everyone. It's Easter Monday. Hold on one second. Let me make sure everybody can see me. Yes, indeed. Instagram folks, buenos dias, buenos dias. Uh, what can I say? It is Easter Monday and we are here for it. Now, you guys might notice something a little bit different this morning. Good morning. Um, the first thing I want to say is I'm going to have a guest on, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Charles Whittaker is joining the show this morning. And the other thing is, I positioned my camera a little bit different this morning, so I would like your feedback if you've noticed the difference or if you haven't noticed it and it really hasn't made a difference to you. Let me know. But I've actually positioned the camera a little bit more central. It is interfering with my keyboard just a little bit. I don't have the full keyboard area, but I think I can still type and stuff without an issue. So I'm just playing around with a couple settings to kind of see what works better visually for you guys. So obviously I'm seeing one thing on my monitor, but I still want to be able to see your comments. And so I had to reposition the camera just a tad. So good morning to Tracy. Tracy was up early this morning at 6:26 commenting and said government officials demanding that citizens be arrested for voicing an opinion of them because it hurts their feelings is absolutely outrageous. And we are definitely going to be speaking to Charles about that this morning once he joins the program. I'm trying to see if I can sit up a little bit to be over the comments. Marcus says, Tracy, welcome to Fascism. Garth says he is waiting on the show at 7:14. Garth was like, get up, folks, and get on it. And we are here. Very good. Sabrina, good morning, Sabrina. Sabrina says, happy Easter Monday. Joan is here for it. Good morning, Joan. How are you? Keisha, beautiful Keisha is here. Thanks, Keisha, for joining us. Yes, happy Easter Monday. And of course, just a reminder that the grocery stores are still open. And yeah, awesome. So Zita, good morning. Sandra and everyone, God blessings on us all. Garth says happy Easter Monday to all. And Sharon is here for it. Thank you, Sharon. Yvette, good morning, Yvette. Wendy, happy Easter Monday, Wendy. Joy, Morna is always here for it. Morna says, good morning, Sandy. Happy Easter. Going to the beach today. Ha 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 ha. Stay home and stay safe. So for those of you who might want to go to the beach today, the beaches are closed. There's a little bit of confusion over the weekend about the question of private beaches versus public beaches. I have never known the Cayman Islands to have private beaches, so I was a little bit confused by that. So yeah, strange. I'm just having a quick look at our daily while I'm reading your messages. Maureen says good morning. Is it right diary? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It says buenos dias desde Santo Domingo. So buenos dias and happy Easter Monday. Sharon, good morning to you. All the way from Hong Kong. Wow, Sharon, thank you so much for joining us. I haven't really noticed your name on our show commenting before. So if this is your first time, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Hard Cold Truth Morning Edition. So as you guys know, I actually have been doing the morning edition. I'm just sending a message to my WhatsApp news group to tell them rise and shine, folks. Tune in if you want to join in. Yeah, so for the past, this is like week 3 now, since we've basically been under this quarantine situation. We have been doing the morning show here. So Love the attendance and the feedback. It's really been wonderful. So some of you I've not seen yet, but I don't see everyone necessarily that joins in unless you comment, and then I see your comment. So Sharon, this is the first time I'm seeing you comment, so I don't know if this is your first time viewing or not. Last week, Thursday, we had Carolina, who was joining us, and she had a few words that she contributed about, the situation at the Wyndham Hotel, and how she kind of felt about employment in the Cayman Islands. And apparently Carolina's first time joining the show. So she did say in a private message that she watches, but she reads our Facebook page, but she's never actually watched the show before. And then she kind of felt like she was stepping over her bounds a little bit because, the conversation got very passionate on Thursday since we were talking about employment. And, she's wondering, and I said, listen, on this show, we call it the Cold Hard Truth, and we encourage everyone to participate and to contribute if you have something meaningful to say. And just because I get passionate about something when it comes to, the Caymanian people, does not mean that your opinion will not be heard on the show and your opinion will not be shared, and other people can value your opinion or not. I mean, that's completely on them. And, at the end of the day, it really is all about freedom of expression and freedom of speech, which is one of the things that we're going to be talking about here this morning, or the primary thing, really, in light of what transpired over the weekend. So, Trace says, all of us is going on in the world is a test by God, faith, love, and trust. That's all we need in God. Well, we need a vaccine. So, Lola, just a few people here on Instagram. Paul is here for it. Paul says, good morning. Jake, good morning. Way to go early. Give us good news. Oh, Slim is looking for some good news. Slim, the good news is we are alive and well. What can I tell you? We're shaking. Yes. And we're the only talk show, I think, this morning on Easter Monday that's actually alive and well. So there you go. Taylor, good morning, Taylor. Sadine says, good morning. Do you know when the Cayman National Bank open and time? They will not be opening today, to the best of my knowledge, because today is Easter Monday. So pretty much the only thing that's going to open today will be the grocery store and probably restaurants who are doing delivery and or offering pickup services. Shan, good morning to you. Show us what you keep on looking at the top there. So I think I'm just looking at the Facebook comments, which on Facebook, IG, if you guys have never seen this show on Facebook, I think you need to go and see it because it's like a totally different thing actually on Facebook. Like you get to see the comments and we can do overlays, and there's just so much more that is involved in what you see on Facebook. So that's what I'm looking at. I've got two screens here, one horizontal, which is my primary screen. That's like a 32-inch monitor. So I do have a lot of space to kind of look at different tabs and stuff. And then I have a vertical screen over here. Mostly I have this set up for work-related stuff because when I'm working like in Excel and then I'm doing QuickBooks work, I normally have QuickBooks open on the bigger screen. And then over here, I've got Excel going, so I can kind of look at two screens at the same time, look at data and work between the two. Anyway, Slim, I think that's who asked that question. That's why sometimes you see my eyes kind of shifting and looking at different things because I am actually looking at the monitor. So Shan says that I'm low. So let me move the mic in a little bit here and turn it up and make sure that you guys can hear me. Today is Monday. Child, I thought today was Friday. Paul, you're losing a couple days on me here. But you know what, Paul? I feel you. But let's not relive the weekend because the weekend was a little full of drama. So, and then we'd have to relive the curfew really fast too, the hard curfew. So Slim gives Shan a shout out. Shanna's like, I don't know who you are, Slim. um, Paul says, hey Sandy, good morning. I haven't slept all now. Ooh, that's not good. I know how it is with the rough sleeping. Trust me. Last night was not the best for me either. I caught a little snooze yesterday in the sofa. So, a nap can never really make up for lost sleep in the night. That's the kind of crazy thing, right? But, you take it when you can, trust me. Sometimes you're just so tired. So Slim and Shan have connected, I think. Big hello. So Slim isn't really identifying himself. Maybe he needs to DM Shan. Who here wants some iced coffee? Oh my gosh, Paul, can I tell you? I am not a coffee drinker. Like, I don't drink regular coffee at all. My husband drinks coffee, but I do not drink coffee. So he has one of those, I think I got him that for Christmas a couple years ago, but he has one of those machines, a little fancy thing where you can put it and you can grind up your coffee and then you brew it fresh. And he is Jamaican, so of course he says they have the best Blue Mountain Jamaican coffee in the world, and he's all into it. And so the first thing when he goes to Jamaica is he gets his coffee packed and ready to bring back, right? And I don't drink coffee, but like Frappuccino. So this is like the cold coffee drinks. My favorite one is the one from, well, actually there's two that's pretty good. I like the one from Cafe del Sol. So I can't wait until they open up here in Savannah, because that's going to be good. Although they're so full of sugar that I know in my heart, in my head, that it's not really good for me, but every once in a while. So funny enough, on Saturday, I was really craving one, Paul, and I went by there at 5:15, and they had just closed at 5 o'clock because they have pickup service. Apparently, coffee is an essential service. Well, I mean, they're, I guess, the food category, and so you can do pickup. And unfortunately, they had just closed. And I was like, open the door. I need a coffee. And I'm not even a coffee drinker. Like in the mornings, I do either water, if I can, warm lemon water, if I feel for something warm. Occasionally, I'll do a hot chocolate. That's like a weekend treat, like maybe a Sunday. Because I know, again, hot chocolate is all about the sweets. Like, I'm a sweet person. I got a sweet tooth, right? And then juice sometimes, but that's it. Brow Lash, good morning, darling. I love your little emojis. Those are super cute. So I think Paul is going to make some coffee, or maybe he's going to make a coffee run. I don't know. Brow Lash's Cafe de Sol's chai latte is so good. I haven't had that one. But generally speaking, I do not love coffee, so I'm surprised that I like the frozen one. And there's one at Monkey. What is the name of that place on the waterfront? Monkey, something Monkey. It used to be the other coffee shop, and they do one as well that's actually pretty good. And shout out to the Filipino lady who works there. I can never remember her name, but she'll know who she is. So let's just see a few more comments before we get into the meat and potato. I see Charles is joining us already. Charles, just give me a few minutes and then I'm going to bring you in. Charles is ready, boy. Charles is going to tear the place up. I feel sorry for y'all this morning because, hey, listen, Charles does not hold back on anything. So I will not be responsible for anything that Charles says because he's a big man. So let me just get him ready here in a second. I do want to do our daily today. So of course, if you have not heard that before, all that is a positive message to get our day started so that we are focused and in a positive mindset to tackle all of the things that's going to be facing us for the day. Jasmine, beautiful Jasmine, says happy Easter. First Lady Jayanne is here for it. Martha, I've not seen you in a minute. Thank you so much for joining. Cherry Ann says good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Trace is here. Good morning, Trace. Thank you. Turn up the volume. So it seems like people are having a little bit of a volume issue hearing me today. So I'm going to actually test the volume by plugging in this little headset here. Sometimes I think it's Facebook that's the issue, and especially if you're doing it from your phone. Can I tell you something? Yesterday, a few people, well, one person said to me that they were having a little bit of an issue actually hearing me. So I actually have very good volume in this. So I'm just doing a mic check on the actual mic itself. So the volume is very high. But I think what it is with Facebook, and I don't like to actually hear myself with the headset, so normally I unplug it. But I think what it is with Facebook on your phone is that sometimes you need to either restart the phone or refresh it completely. But someone was saying to me yesterday that the editorial that we did, which by the way, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We had almost 600 people at one time tuned into that live where we were addressing what went down with Dwayne Seymour. Let me just check my numbers. It went up to 591 persons. And so that is actually a record for a non-government press briefing to have that many people tuned in to something that we were saying. So again, thanks guys for really showing your support. And I think it shows how all of us were so invested in that topic. Andrew wants to know about pension. Nothing yet on pensions. We're hoping this week we can find out. Corrine, yes, Cayman Coffee is what they were called. Now they're called Monkey something or another. And apparently they do like waffles and different things as well. Alric, good morning. Buenos dias. ¿Cómo estás? Welcome, welcome. Sandy Bella says happy Monday. Where's my international crew? I know I've always got some international people. Rob says the volume is good, listening in studio. And yes, I was saying that I think it's more of a phone thing because if you listen even from the PC, the audio, sorry, is perfectly fine. So sometimes you just need to, and in fact, my mic is telling me that my volume is too high because it's going into the red. So it's probably just a matter of refreshing the connection and just turning up the volume. And then I find too that with phones, if you listen through like a headset or something, it always comes in a little bit clearer as well. So a few people said to me yesterday that the audio and the voice was out of sync. And I checked with my technical advisors, like people who are really in this space of streaming and whatever. And basically they said that that's a known Facebook issue. And there's nothing that I can do about that. If you use Facebook for mobile, you're going to notice that. However, if you are viewing it from a PC, which I know a lot of times you can't always do that, then you should be fine. So Captain William, good morning. I don't know if you're a real captain or not, but I like the name. Hi Sandra, why are so many people still exercising and get loser to other? Get loser to other. Must stop this ASAP. I don't know what get loser to other means. However, what I would say is you can exercise today because it's a soft curfew day. Yesterday, you were not supposed to exercise. And my apologies, I think I confused people a little bit yesterday by walking my dog 1 block. And people were like, why are you walking your dog? And then people ran into the prospect group knocking on me. Oh my gosh, Sandra was just live streaming. She's walking her dog. Okay, I was wrong. I've been put in handcuffs before, so I'm not necessarily worried about that. But, I don't want to be encouraging people to do the wrong thing. So, like I said during the live stream, actually, my dog will not go in our yard because she has been trained to do her business outside of the yard. And so it's a little bit challenging when you have a dog like that to get her to do her business. So we had to walk her up a block, and normally we don't live in a gated community, but we're right next to it. And there's like a little area right there at the beginning of the gated community that she really likes. So that's why when you says walking, you saw nothing but like an empty lot. And that's what that empty lot is. So anyway, don't have me arrested because I don't think they'll let me stream my show from from jail. But, like in the mornings like this now, sometimes I can let her out to kind of just go at the edge of the yard just to pee because she will do that, but she's not going to do anything else in the yard. So, yeah, these are the challenges that we're all dealing with. That's a minor challenge as far as I'm concerned, but the chances of me actually running into someone is none. Like I've never walked my dog and came up on another person. And when I say never, I mean pre-quarantine, like nobody else is in the neighborhood walking a dog. Um, so, you know. But yeah, today you can go out and exercise. I think Captain William, that exercise is important. Obviously, a lot of us can do it inside, but there's some people who want the fresh air. Like I've never seen so many people outside actually walking and exercising before now. And I don't know if it's just because everybody's got so much time on their hands because they're at home on lockdown that they're really taking advantage of it or what's going on. So Queenie Junes says, "Good morning, Miss Sandy. Hope you're doing okay mentally, physically, and emotionally, as you're always there for us, letting us know what's going on. Thanks so much. God's greatest blessings in you and your family." Queenie, thank you for that, for checking in on me. I really appreciate it. I do try to be here for you guys. And, yeah, I mean, obviously, it takes a toll on all of us. And sometimes I'm here and I absorb a lot from everyone. So I get all of your comments, I get all of your complaints, I get all of your frustrations. And so I take that on as a person because I'm trying to get answers to people. I'm trying to help people out. So William said it should have said closer and not loser. Sorry, got it. Um, so yeah, I appreciate the check in on my mental wellness. I think that I try to, do what I need to do to stay in the correct headspace. But I do know that sometimes, even me, I just like need a minute. And you guys know I'm a firecracker anyway. So there's some times that I'm just like, listen, today is not the day. Those are the days when you hear me say jokingly that I didn't take my medication today, that means you should probably not really mess with me too much because I'm gonna tell you about yourself real quick. So yeah, but I mean that's kind of who I am all the time, to be honest. Um, I feel like I'm one of those people who actually has a lot of patience for certain things, but then there are other things that I really just do not tolerate, like liars and people who disrespect other people and the whole thing with, we'll get into politics here in a little bit, but I don't have a lot of time for politicians who it's like cry me a river kind of thing, right? All right, Darlene says, "Do you think we the people can get the number of cases for the COVID-19 for each district and the areas as well?" The short answer, Darlene, is no. The chief medical officer has basically said that he's not going to give out that information. He doesn't think that it's particularly helpful. I hope, but I don't know if they are keeping those numbers for themselves. But, at the end of the day, they're not providing it. I don't know if they're not providing it because they don't want to maybe identify people, or alternatively give people false hope that, oh, I'm in this little section of this island that doesn't have it, so I have nothing to worry about. Because basically they've said, listen, there is community transmission of COVID-19. That much we know. On Saturday, we had 8 new confirmed cases of the coronavirus. And of the 8, 6 are definitely local transmission, except they can't even trace them yet. So they're doing what they call contact tracing, where they try to see where people came in contact with each other and how they may have gotten it. And at this point, they do not even know. And the premier said, this to date is the most alarming set of numbers. I think it's really because they don't know for those 6 people. And so that has him very, very concerned. So not good at all. Everyone expressed their concern, including the governor, over these latest figures as well. So Andrea says, yes, the volume is good. Don't think it's on your part. Thank you for confirmation. Tamara, good morning. Now, Tamara, you're from, is it Orlando? No, Fort Lauderdale, I think. Yes, because Tamara called in. By the way, Tamara, thank you for calling in last week. I think it was Friday. I just want to remind you guys, if you do want to call in and join the conversation, you can on WhatsApp. I'm going to actually just turn up the phone here so I can hear your calls. You can definitely call in. 324-1612 is the WhatsApp number. And feel free to join the conversation. I'm just going to stick that up on the screen now so that you can see it there. Definitely join the conversation. And we'd be glad to have you guys jump in and, we'll take your call. And the beauty of WhatsApp is you can be calling from anywhere in the world. And it's not going to cost you anything. So Brett says, excuses, the dog will learn. Well, Brett, thank you for your feedback. I guess you don't know my Coco, but thank you anyway for your feedback. I'll invite you over to come and teach her how to poop in her yard. And after you walk her for an hour, then you can let me know how that goes. Irvelyn, good morning, hon. I'm late, went walking. Good for you, Irvelyn. They should tell us the district numbers, though. So a lot of people do feel like that would be useful information to have. Jessica says, I feel they need to put all the people who tested positive in a hotel. Well, the problem with that is, by the time they've tested positive, they probably have gotten tested because they were showing symptoms. Because remember, we've gotten components of the test kit now that we're going to start wider spread testing, but we do not yet have that in place. We just have the components. So by the time they are symptomatic, they've already started showing, symptoms and whatever, they've been in contact with other people. And this is the thing. A lot of people do not know who they've been in contact with. Grocery stores. You were just a stranger to somebody else in the grocery store. But if you had the coronavirus, you might have given it to someone in the grocery store. They don't know that. So it's a little difficult by you isolating them by the time that they have tested positive. It's a little bit of a moot point already, to be honest. That's why they keep telling you, stay home, stay home, stay home, stay within your family, keep your social distancing and that sort of thing. So Sue says, morning, Sandra, you didn't bother anybody on your Sunday. Just a short walk away from your home, get some fresh air with your little girl. No comparison to those who were out on 7 Mile Beach walking their dogs. Oh my God, way too many again. Yeah, and I don't go in public like that. Now for sure, like you're not going to catch me unless I'm covering a story, which even that I'm really trying to stay away from if I can. I might do the occasional story from the grocery store, which I have to go to anyway. But yeah, you're not likely to find me anywhere kind of doing that. The second I turn on the phone, it's like messages coming bling, bling, bling. So Sue, I appreciate that. And I also get how other people are thinking. And I get that some people are just being, what word I really want to use, right? A-holes. Oh no, technically she's breaking curfew. People, calm down. Yes, other places have those statistical information broken down. But again, the argument they're going to use is, oh, those other places are so much bigger than us. So Brett says he's going to do it, but he's expecting payment. Say what? Brett, you better walk Coco for free. No. That's a volunteer job, my friend. And you got to pick up the poop too, okay? I got the poop bags ready for you. Mario says if people stay home and mind their business, they wouldn't have to worry about where they got it from. Well, I guess that's what the government's saying. I hope this is somebody who's calling for the show now and not just some random person who's like, oh, I thought I could call you. So hold on. Let's see. Good morning and welcome to the Cold Hard Truth. You are live on air. Nope. Says connecting. That's the only thing with WhatsApp. Still connecting. All right, let me read another comment while this is connecting. Romelia says to close the liquor stores. They're contributing to the illegal gathering. So for some reason that call did not come through. Check your Wi-Fi connection. They're contributing to the illegal gathering in the communities. I mean, are the liquor stores the hot spot of where all of this is going down? Are they really the problem? Are people not keeping their social distancing at the liquor stores? Is that what's going on? So, Shan, back to some Instagram comments. So Shan says, of course, people like mix up and they're going to tune in. I guess she's referring to the almost 600 people that we had yesterday. Shan says, let me just find out if this person's trying to get on air. Just asking if they want to get on air. And then Shan says, laughing out loud, anytime Sandra talking about regular stuff, you only see the people who are always here. But as soon as she dropped some sus are set to, so, I'm missing what that word is. Something straight, it pack. Yes, that is very true. So exactly what was the issue with Dwayne Seymour? Absolute. Stay tuned. We're going to get to it. And then Shan says, I am shady bad. I don't mind owning my shadiness. So liquor stores, Romelia thinks that they are the issue. I don't know. Sasha says if that's the case, then no more pref briefings are needed. Karma, welcome to the show. Mitzi, with hurricane season approaching, can government assist with negotiating lower house insurance rate? So this person actually wasn't trying to get on the show. Well, yeah, that's the problem with WhatsApp. Sometimes you just don't know. So don't call during show times because you're going to get put on air live. And there's no other way for me to know that that's not why you're calling. So try to remember that. So let me just see here, folks. Okay, so I will not play their voice note because that does not look like it's meant for public consumption. Keisha, I hear a voice of some Jamaican workers on the ship need to go home at Jamaica PM doing it best. Oh, God help them. Yeah, we did that article a couple days ago. The Prime Minister said, no, 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 no. Stay your behind right where you are on that ship. And I don't know how that's going to work because that ship has been out there for a while. And those people are just circling around. Yes, Tasha, I'm actually going to put up that video earlier. So Tasha makes note of the video that Chad did. Now, you guys know Chad. He's a local comedian. I think he probably does have another job, but I don't even know what his real job is. But Chad is cool, and they always do really funny memes and comedy skits and stuff like that. So Chad actually has done a few featuring myself. And JJ, which you guys know last October, he won for Halloween the best costume because he was dressed as me. So he has kept his costume, and every once in a while he gets into character. And so him and Chad got together. And so this is what Tasha's referring to. I'm going to post the video. I saw it on Saturday, actually, and I'm going to post it today. Tosh said, I love the video that Chad has up with about camping. CMR was allowed through the roadblocks. And that is a little funny, situation where JJ played me. And I'll let you guys see it a little bit later on this morning. Catherine, behave yourself. Catherine says, you must be one of those at a liquor store to know this. I haven't seen people gathering, just buying and leaving, but it's no different from restaurants and food delivery services. All of these can help spread the virus. And I don't go to the liquor store because I don't drink liquor, so I don't even pay attention to what's happening at the liquor store, so I couldn't tell you. But Tasha says liquor stores are not the problem. People who ignore the laws are the problem. So there you go. But yeah, let's not make this a liquor store situation. Marjorie, there should be a pref briefing at 2:00. So there was none on Friday, Good Friday, and there was none on Easter Sunday yesterday. Um, so Mario says, Sasha, I guess you're an expert on pandemic and new virus. Go pick it for the information. I think Mario wanting the information by um, district isn't necessary. Like, I get it why people would want that information. And I also kind of get what the chief medical officer is saying as well, that he doesn't want people to feel any level of comfort. Like, if he says, okay, Bodden Town only has 5 cases out of the, what's the total number that we have now? Out of the 53 cases, he doesn't want people to think that, because they know, and I keep saying this, I want you guys to get it. We have 53 confirmed cases. How many cases do we really have, like in the real world? Way more than that. So we have local transmission. I wouldn't be surprised if we probably have double or triple that number. So they know this, and this is what they keep telling you. We're trying to get this under control. All right, folks. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We have local transmission. Jay says closing the liquor store won't stop the problem. The problem is people. And Sue says, yes, only 2 people allowed in at a time and leave. Nobody is hanging out. Funny enough, on Saturday, was it Saturday? No. It was one other day. Maybe it's Friday. No, couldn't have been Friday because I'm losing track of my days here. That would have been Good Friday. It had to have been Wednesday. I wanted to go to Cost You Less. And then when I saw the line, I turned back and I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not doing lines. I'm sorry. But whatever I was trying to get at Cost You Less will have to wait. Karen agrees with the whole liquor store thing. Says, I went to the liquor store and the one in Countryside lets 2 people in at a time. Sherry says liquor stores don't have problems gathering. Leave the liquor stores alone. Listen, everybody who drinks is like, listen, do not take your liquor from, and this is why I'm telling you the story. So I was passing by and I saw someone that I know and I said, hey, how's it going? She's like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. She works in the restaurant business and she's like, girl, I am just beyond stress right now, but I got my bottle of liquor. So she's buying a bottle of wine, the little box wines, And she's like, I'm good. I'm going to have a glass of wine. I'm going to relax. So I don't personally drink and I don't find that I need alcohol to relax or whatever. But I know that everybody's a little bit different. And provided that you're not an alcoholic, what's the big deal to have a glass of wine? And so I don't know why certain sectors, normally people who are trying to tell you to go to church, every minute of the day, but some of them are the biggest devils in the world. Everyone is like, let's block off liquor. It's like, listen, people are stressed out enough as it is. They're trying to find ways to cope. We have a big, hard-back minister sitting on a podium crying his tears out because somebody hurt his feelings with a constructive comment. And if that doesn't show you how stressed out people are, including him, I don't know what would. But the last thing you need to do is try to force, what's it called again? I can't even think of when you go completely dry. Prohibition. You're trying to force a prohibition situation on people as well. I agree that the liquor stores are like any other business in the sense that if they say only 2 people in at a time, keep your social distancing, how is that any different than going to the grocery store or going anywhere else? And I think you could really drive some people crazy. And I'm not talking about alcoholics, just some regular people who want to sit down at dinner and have some semblance of normalcy in their lives and have a little glass of wine or a beer. What's the big deal? Like, I don't see the big deal. I mean, honestly, I don't know why people are so up in arms about the liquor stores. So Sasha responds to Mario. I'll let the 2 of you kind of hash that out. So Amelia says people are buying from the liquor stores and gathering in the communities to buy it and socialize. Well, that's illegal, and that's a whole different situation. But Romelia, honestly, if they weren't getting it from the liquor stores, do you really think those same people wouldn't find a way to make it or find it and still sell it illegally in the community? We need someone to be level-headed and understand the importance and seriousness of this coronavirus. Well, what we need to do is those people who are selling liquor illegally in the communities, they need to be reported, um, so that they can be dealt with, because that's a problem. But that would be like selling anything, whether it's liquor, groceries, whatever. I hear there's some communities where people have a makeshift store, in their home, and they are, illegally selling those things as well. So listen, tons of comments coming in. I don't want to miss any of them, but I'm not going to read them all verbatim right now. So I will allow some of these to be read. So South Marjorie says, only 2 in the hospital. There's actually 3 people in the hospital, and the others are self-isolated. Do we have relevant authorities that check on their progress? And would it be that the virus is transmitted to the 6 persons that can be traced before isolation? Well, definitely. I mean, we don't know who they are. We don't know how they got it. Apparently, they don't know themselves. So it doesn't, when they say they can't do any contact tracing for those people, what that means is, they were not around people, like they didn't have a household case already, because then they could trace that, right? So they didn't have a household case. So essentially, that's why they're concerned. Like they don't know where those people are getting it from. So of course, they would have been around other people, and they probably have infected other people because they weren't in isolation. They didn't know they had it, and that's how this thing works. Romelia, you need to report those lawless people that are coming into your community, especially if they're not even part of your community. And people are still getting together for like dominoes games and house parties and pool parties, and that is very, very irresponsible. Jarian is complaining about price gouging at the liquor store. A 6-pack of Red Stripe Sorrel beer, there's such a thing, is $19.98, and she's rolling her eyes. Well, I don't know what to tell you there. Everton, apparently the issue's not at the liquor store. She's saying that once they buy the liquor, then they're gathering in the community. So, all right. So tons of comments coming in, but like I said, I want to jump into our daily and then I want us to, then I want us to bring Charles into the conversation because he's been patiently waiting. All right, so this one is called, I'm trying to pull it over onto my primary screen, which sometimes is a little tricky. Let me just do it this way because it does not want to budge this morning. Okay, so, all right, so this one is called Enjoying Life. Look at that. They seem to be very topical these days. It is only in the present moment that we experience being alive. Misha, you right where you're supposed to be. Life and all of its fullness is happening right now. While our thoughts are sometimes elsewhere, beautiful opportunities and moments are being passed over and lost to the flow of time. And though we cannot possibly fully experience each leaf that falls to the ground, sometimes we get so attached to reaching our goals that we don't pay attention to the wonder all around us. Oh, this is so beautiful. When we do that, we live in a world that exists only in our heads while we miss life itself. There's so much to be enjoyed and appreciated that we need to remember to pay attention to the present moment, because it is the only space in which we can experience being alive. We learn from our past, but dwelling on it keeps us from being fully present to life in the moment. We create our lives with our thoughts, but focusing so firmly on our imagined future keeps us from co-creating with the universe. So we might never allow ourselves to live our dreams as they manifest. It's possible to be so happy and comfortable in our inner worlds that we lose touch with the business of life. We may enjoy spending large portions of time in meditation or focus on our thoughts, life must be attended to. And if we are wise, we can enjoy it at the same time. We can awaken ourselves to the moment we're living right now by taking a deep breath and simply looking around. In doing so, we refocus our attention to our location in the real world, and then we can learn to appreciate the process of working towards our goals as much as their attainment. Balancing ourselves between the present moment and eternity, we can experience and enjoy the full range of reality available to us as spiritual beings living on earth. Very profound, very profound. It's kind of what they say, you're missing the moment when you're too busy focusing on trying to capture the moment by taking a photo. And I've always thought, isn't that interesting? Like, we're trying to capture and preserve a moment in our lives by photographing it. But by that very act alone, and by doing that, we're actually missing being present in that moment and just breathing in the fresh air and like taking it in for what it is. And unfortunately, due to, um, you know, the world that we live in, I think we're living more and more like that every single day. Okay, so let us go ahead and join in the conversation. Mora Mendez is on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let us go ahead and join Charles into the conversation. I will continue to put some of your comments up, but we're going to be talking about what went down on Saturday. So in case you missed it, and I imagine maybe some of you did miss it actually. So I tell you what, give me 1 second. I'm going to play it for you because I do think some of you missed it. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up so that we can see exactly what happened. So this was the health minister, Dwayne, aka John, sometimes known as Joke Seymour, having a minute. And he didn't really contribute very much on Saturday. I don't think he did any languages or anything on Saturday. I think all he said was, that they were very concerned about the new numbers and just stay home. And then he went into this minute-long comment. And this literally blew the local internet up. Every single person came out and was like, huh? What is he talking about? I mean, I went out right after it happened. I was trying to run to the store before everything was closed. And I had people saying to me, like people who are out exercising, what happened? What is he talking about? Everybody wanted to know because he didn't really use any specifics, which was kind of weird. Like, I think if you're going to say I'm insulted by something, just tell us straight out, well, what the hell are you insulted by? But he didn't exactly do that. So it left a lot of people speculating. But most people believe the comment that we put in our story is actually what he was referring to. And he seems to have really taken that to heart. And he started making some comments and it made him cry. And so if you haven't seen it, I'm going to play it for you guys now. And then we're going to bring Charles in and we're going to discuss it. Instagram folks, just listen up and you should be able to hear it.
It's very encouraging that you send these messages. I also wanted to mention something that was resting very heavy on my heart today. Didn't even know if I was going to come today to the press conference. To be honest, I think some of the media bloggers needs to be more responsible. Stop trying to derail the progress the government has been making lately with our fight against this coronavirus. I'm appealing to the police to look at the CNS posts about me as minister and ascertain whether someone needs to be arrested for that also. It went as far as not posting the person's comments in my defense, so the ownership needs to take responsibility. At a time when everyone needs to find some love in their hearts and unity to fight this disease together, instead we find ugliness even in the happens.
And then he couldn't talk anymore because he was so upset by that. So that was kind of the end of it. So, yeah. So basically, he is saying that the police should investigate CNS, which is Keyman News Service, and arrest, I guess he means Wendy Ledger, because obviously the commenter is anonymous, because they allowed a comment on their platform that he doesn't agree with and that was somehow, um, you know, anti him. The weird thing about this is he's asking for censorship, censor not just the media, but censor what people can comment and say on a media story. Because that comment was not a comment by Wendy herself or CNS. It was a story that they did, and then someone else commented. And so he's saying that because of that, you know, they should investigate her and put her in jail. And then he tries to throw this kind of sideways, or maybe he just doesn't know the difference between a blogger and actually what we do. What we do isn't technically blogging at all. And I know a lot of people throw out that term because they think somehow that lessens your eyes, your what you do in the eyes of the general public, or you're just a blogger. What does that mean even? Like one of these days, maybe today in a minute here might be the day to break down what a blogger is and how blogging works. And a blogger is just one type of person who writes, but that doesn't mean that a blogger can't be a journalist and a journalist can't be a blogger. And, you know, when you're in the digital media space, that's not what you're actually referred to. But so what if they call you a blogger? Like, I think people are trying to insult you when they call you a blogger. Oh, you're just a blogger. Who cares? A blogger where one story can reach 30,000 plus people, do you think they really care at the end of the day what you call them? Content is content in the digital space, and it's still reaching a lot of people. So I don't really know why people like to say that. And sometimes I do think that in their heads, they're thinking that by calling someone a blogger, they are essentially bringing them down a notch. But I can tell you that people in this space, well, me personally, I do not actually care what I'm called. We still reach the people, and that's the most important thing. So Charles, I'm going to bring you in. I think you need to adjust your camera down a little bit. There you go. Welcome, Charles, to the program. Thank you so much. Let's just do an audio check so I can hear you there, Charles.
All right. Good morning, Sandy.
Oh, yeah, you're coming in loud and clear. Thank you, Charles, for joining us.
You're
So
welcome.
this
Thank you for having me.
situation over the weekend created quite the firestorm. And there were a lot of people, like I said, immediately who started like going to CNS because their entire website crashed in the aftermath of just having too much traffic. So it came back up, you know, eventually. But I've seen this happen even on our own platform, because where you have your servers located, you kind of manage, you know, you have to pay for servers and all this kind of stuff to maintain your website. And you manage what plan you're on based on kind of anticipated traffic. So all of a sudden, if you have everyone in the Cayman Islands going to CNS trying to figure out what is going on, you guys just gave her a spike in her numbers for sure. Kudos to Wendy. And yeah, I think that at the end of the day, you know, everyone was curious. What is the minister talking about? So people started digging and sending me information because I sent up to my news group. I don't know what the man's talking about. I don't personally read CNS, but if you guys know, let me know. And within, you know, about 10 minutes for sure, everyone was zoned in on the post that we eventually put up, in which we're going to read here in a minute, because I think it's important to also know what it was that offended the minister to this extent, you know. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of that, Charles, let's introduce you in case no one knows who you are, but I think most people do. You are obviously Charles the Killer Whittaker. A lot of people know you from you being a professional boxer here in the Cayman Islands, but Charles has been involved in the community. You're from West Bay. Charles, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you say, I'm Charles Whittaker, and I've been a professional fighter for almost 30 years now. And I'm very much involved in in the community, yeah, and in local issues because I'm very concerned because I love my people. I love my country. I care about my people. And I was more troubled by what the minister suggested at that press briefing than by his tears. I
Yes.
I wonder of the almost
Let's
600.
read what before you go there. Let's read what we think is the offending comment. And again, this is a little bit speculative on our part because the minister never said, but probably 99% of the people out there believe that this is what had him in tears on Saturday. So this comment came in, and I don't even know what the original article was about because obviously they're covering press articles every single day. But this one said, Anonymous writes, Dwayne Seymour doesn't have to be a medical professional to be Minister of Health, but he does need to have some understanding of what he's being advised to do and be able to speak with authority and confidence when he does. He can barely read his prepared statement properly and stumbles over words. It's obvious he doesn't actually understand what he's saying when he uses slightly different words than what is probably on the paper, thinking it's the same thing but changing the meaning in an important way. Every time he starts to answer a question or says he'd like to add something after the Premier or Chief Medical Officer answer a question, I cringe. His off-the-cuff interventions are just as bad. His math and what percentage of the population could be tested with the new kits was off by a factor of 10, 6 to 7% when it's actually 0.6 to 0.7%. And he loves to start his comments with in my opinion. And what comes next is never in line with recommendations from the people who know what they're doing. For example, about the mask. The people he spoke about, the way he spoke, about the orders for additional PPE was irresponsible and could have been severely misinterpreted. He's completely out of his depth, and it's embarrassing for him personally, for the government, and for the entire Cayman Islands. And then someone replied to that and said, I don't know if it's the same anonymous person or not, but someone says, I've heard the health minister contradicting the chief medical officer and the premier. Going forward, I think he should really refrain from commenting on the medical issues concerning this virus. And please leave it to the professionals. Stop giving out misleading information, which is causing confusion to some and could well jeopardize the health of our residents. And then somebody else replied and said he shouldn't even be there, to be honest. So we believe that those are the comments that has the minister up in arms, And then Shan says that she can't hear you properly. Unfortunately, because of the way that Charles is joining the show, I think this is kind of the time when you probably want to switch Instagram people to either listening to us directly on Facebook or on YouTube. So Browlash was asking what the comment was. We've just read it. And again, we suspect that that's what this is all about. So Charles, your thoughts on this?
Well, as I was saying that, what concerned me was what he suggested, that he want the media censored and perhaps the people who run CNS News Services arrested. Now, before I go any further, yesterday, some 591 people tuned in to Cayman Mall Road. I was one of those. And I wonder how many of those people tuned in to be enlightened and how many of them really tuned in just because they wanted to hear the latest talk on the Mall Road. I think that it was important that people listen yesterday to be informed, and our people need to be more enlightened. You don't have to be a college graduate. I am not. But you need to read, and the Bible says, read and know for yourself that no one may deceive you. Study to show yourself approved. there were a lot of people jumping in support of Minister Seymour. I don't think the article was mean to him. I think it was truthful and it was honest. It was nothing less than I had been saying privately. I was going to speak publicly on the same thing. I mean, he gets up there every day. I thought, in my view, he's making a mockery. There were other people I have been around who said that every day he's up there making a mockery with this gibberish, these different languages, and the way he presents himself, that he should be able to do a better job. He doesn't have to be a health professional, like she said, like the writer said. I don't know who said it, but he should be able to do a better job of articulating himself, giving that information, not contradicting the medical professional when up there. There's nothing for him to be crying about. And for the people who were on the attack of the author, they should be on the attack of the minister. You see, our people are forever acting without thinking. Yes, today you support doing Seymour, so you're offended. But what happens when tomorrow it's a politician you don't support and you speak against him or her and they want you then censored? Then it's wrong. You see, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And our people are really, son, they have to wake up and realize that we have the standard principle, no matter who it is, no matter if it's Sandy Hill or it's Charles Whittaker. If you're wrong, you're wrong. You cannot pick and choose who is wrong and, well, because it's him, I like him, it's okay. I read with someone, you remember the article you did on the same set doing Seymour about the employees and the pension. Right. Someone put a post on that on Facebook a few weeks ago and asked the question, should he be jailed? I said, because he's a government minister, he should be made an example of. He should be made to pay and put him in jail. And that's what he deserves. If he did what the employee is saying, if what the employee alleged took place, that's what should happen to him. It must be known that nobody is above the law. Yet
Charles, just stick a pin right there, and let me just say this about this particular minister. This particular minister, the irony of him getting on stage and saying that somebody hurt his feelings and, someone has upset him and he's crying, is beyond ironic given his past behavior. Because this is a minister himself who has gotten in physical altercations on more than one occasion. I don't know if you guys remember, but the last time he was in, when he was with McKeeva Bush, he was arrested at what used to be the Hyatt at the time by Bamboo for him and his gang of boys that he likes to travel with, for getting in an altercation with his ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife's boyfriend at the time. And quite interestingly enough, that particular boyfriend apparently knew some martial arts. And so they didn't get one up on him quite like how they thought. They might have gotten their butts kicked that day. So he was arrested for that. There was 2 cases. The Crown lost the first case. And then by the second case, they gave up and said, they weren't going to actually submit any evidence in the case at all, which is quite ironic. He has been, just as of last year, involved in another altercation at a youth event where he was at an under-17 football match, threatening local activist Johan Moxham, claiming that he's in cahoots with CMR, with, I don't know what we're supposedly in cahoots with. Like, he seems to believe that people are out to get him, and I don't really know why that is. But, he put that narrative out there and actually threatened that he was going to assault Johan and beat him up and all sorts of things. Multiple eyewitnesses to that. The victim in this case decided not to press any charges, but we have it on good authority that a statement was given to police for him to be warned. And this is a sitting minister of health, folks. You know what I'm saying? This is the kind of behavior. Then he sits in LA. He makes fun of an entire group of LGBT community people with complete immunity, because once he makes comments in the LA, no matter what he says, no one can do anything to him. No one can hold him accountable for libel, slander, nothing. So he uses that on occasion to say things about people, whether it's people supporting the port, whether it's the LGBT community. I wonder how many local, young Caymanian children and young teens that he made cry when he made those comments. This is a man who has refused to speak out on the recent assault of a woman, admitted assault of a woman by the Speaker of the House. He's refused to speak out on a lot of other atrocities in this community. And don't even get me started about when he's on the political platform and the things that he says to people. So I get that we're all human beings, but Dwayne Seymour has never struck me as someone, when you were a kid, your mother would tell you, because everybody might call you names or pick on you, your mom would say, listen, sticks and stones
You break your bones.
right, but words can never hurt me. So you take on the words. And of course, we do know in real life that words can be very hurtful and that we should all try to be more mindful of the words that we're using. But on the one hand, when you put yourself out there as a certain kind of person, that's like me. I mean, I put myself out there as a tough, rough, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you about your BBC and blah, 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 and don't come for me kind of person. So when people throw words at me, I don't take it on. Like I don't allow it to take up any sort of real estate in my head, because that's the type of person I am. But also once you put yourself out there in a public arena, I think there is a bit of an expectation that you will accept what comes at you. It's part of the course that you have agreed to get involved in. This man has run for political office. No one has forced him to be in politics. No one has forced him to accept a ministry that clearly, I mean, like you said, that comment could have been written by anybody, but I've had so many people say to me after they saw the comment, they're like, but Sandy, this is the same thing I have been thinking from day one. That comment could have been attributed to me because I have been saying this. I have been thinking this. Sorry, Charles. For some reason, we cannot hear you. So we got a little mic issue there. So Shan has switched over to YouTube, and she says YouTube sounds loud and clear, and she's able to hear Charles on YouTube. I think he's just going to make a mic adjustment there. But yeah, so sometimes the Instagram thing is a little bit weird, but just switch to YouTube or Facebook. So Charles, let's try your mic again because you were not coming in just now. Yeah, we're not able to hear you. So I'm going to give you a minute to maybe just refresh your connection and see if that helps that situation there. I'll read some of the other comments in the meantime. You are coming up. I think what's going on, Charles, if you can still hear me, is you have more than one instance open. So you might need to log out of the other one that you were initially in as well, because I'm still showing that in my screen, and that's probably why we couldn't hear you. So Nicole says he did take off the face mask completely wrong. As someone who worked in infectious diseases, it horrified me. He should be upset about misleading the public. And this is the amazing thing is, I didn't find anything in those comments to be personal in nature. I would not have been offended by those if I were the minister. I think those were constructive comments. And the only reason that I believe he was offended is because they actually hit a nerve. And hitting a nerve can certainly send us into a bit of a tailspin. So someone seems confused about who we're talking about. Folks, we're talking about the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, aka John, a representative for the District of Bodentown. I think he's Bodentown West. And he is also the Minister of Health. So these comments were constructive. It was obviously an opinion. The person isn't trying to state a fact. They're just saying that they don't think that he is qualified to be minister. And if he's going to sit there, that maybe he needs to just, do his Bible verses. In other words, stay in your lane. And it is what it is. So John, we know that you're a supporter of John, and John says he's doing a good job in my opinion, and I'm with you, John. I would like to hear some specifics for those of you who actually think that he's doing a good job, such as John here. What is it specifically about him that you think is doing a good job? Because one of the things about this comment that I found incredibly interesting is they were very specific. They gave specific examples. They said, every time he answers a question, he wants to add something. And sometimes the questions are not directed at him, but he goes out of his way to then jump in, trying to be relevant and trying to add something to the conversation. And this person says his off-the-cuff interventions are just as bad. So the first thing they say is, he's obviously got prepared speeches that he stumbles with. He doesn't often know how to pronounce words in there, which that's unfortunate because I do understand that the vast majority of these ministers have someone else write their speeches for them. If you have someone write a speech for you, and John actually was asking yesterday during a live stream, who writes for me? John, nobody writes for me. I've never had anyone write for me in my entire life. I'm more than capable of writing for myself. You may find this hard to believe, but my very first degree from the University of South Florida is actually in professional technical writing. Now, the writing that I do for CMR is not professional technical writing. There's a very clear distinction between the stylistic types of writing, but I can assure you that even with CMR, when we do a little typo, we make a mistake, which we've been working on very hard. We've installed Grammarly and stuff like this to make sure that we reduce those mistakes, because we do understand quite clearly how that lessens us in the eyes of people who are like, oh, she's made a typo here or there or whatever. It's not because we don't know the words or we don't know how to spell or we don't know how to use spell check. It's often a situation of haste making us erroneously use a word. And then sometimes it's actually the smart technology that's supposed to be helping us be more efficient with spell check, getting it wrong. It thinks we're trying to say something else when we're trying to say something else. So yeah, that's on us. We have been working hard to make those types of corrections, and I appreciate the feedback on that. But rest assured, every single time you see me get before this camera and have anything to say, oftentimes I have nothing written down at all. I don't prepare speeches in that way. What I did yesterday for that particular one is I had notations like bullet points, because there were certain things that once I start talking, I may have forgotten to say, and I didn't want to miss any points. So I did have kind of broader categories and then little bullet points to make sure that I didn't miss anything. But John, I do not have anyone writing for me. However, people have speech writers all the time. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But I think what this comment was trying to say is if you have a speech writer, it's incumbent on you to perhaps read in advance what has been presented to you, to read out during a press briefing. So even when I was in high school and I used to have to do recitals or speeches or whatever, practice makes perfect. And one of the things that I would do is I would stand in front of the mirror at home and I would have my speech. And even if I'd written out a speech, because at that age you write everything out word for word, I would practice it, and I would at least have like the first sentence or the first two sentences or whatever committed to memory, so that I did not actually have to read it verbatim and get stumbling over words and that sort of thing. So I've been in that space of having to give speeches and presentations and so on. And there's a certain amount of preparation that goes into that. So if you have speech writers who are not writing in your style, who don't understand your voice, because everybody has a stylistic voice, then you need to talk to them about that, because they may be writing for someone who's a higher level than you and writing for words that ordinarily, or writing with words that ordinarily you would not use. And that's a communication issue between you and whoever is writing your speeches. And don't try to utilize words that are outside of your vocabulary or that you have no clue how to pronounce. Now, having said that, sometimes we stumble upon a word here that, I haven't used in a while, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I got to break it down. You guys remember just the week before last, we were talking about an article with an epidemiologist, and I have not used that word in a really long time. So when I saw the word, I was like, oh my God, tongue twister, and I had to get it in my head. But you can believe that since that day that I got that word in my head, going forward into at least the next couple months where we're going to be using it over and over and over, that word is now stuck in my brain. So I'm not going to mispronounce it because I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a situation where sometimes we haven't used a word in a while, and that's the problem. So the writer goes on to talk about his misuse of figures, and 6 to 7% versus 0.6 to 0.7% are very different figures. That's not even 1%. And anybody who knows me will know that math is not my strength, and I will never pretend to be a mathematician or anywhere close to that, a finance person. And that is why, if I were Dwayne Seymour or anybody else in elected office and someone came to me and said, "Oh, we'd like for you to be Minister of Finance," I'd be like, you people are crazy. That is way out of my league. Take that out of my portfolio. I don't care what else you threw in there. You could probably give me any other ministry, but do not give me finance. Give me education, give me health, because I could do health and wellness, sports, youth, whatever. But finance, and this is where we as human beings need to be honest with ourselves. We all have our weaknesses and strengths. Numbers and figures and statistics and whatever really isn't my thing. I mean, yes, if I really need to learn something, I will do it, but I don't even enjoy it, right? And that's why my profession of choice has to do with words and speaking, because I realized early on that that's what I enjoy doing, and that's where my strengths lie. So I will never be a finance person. I will never become a CPA, because that's not what I want to do. But yes, I can get a law degree, I can get a writing degree, I can get a degree in public administration, because those are the things that I feel I'm stronger at. So even in the world of politics, if you're going to sit down and make in excess of $13,000 a month, you need to be able to have the ability when people come to you to say, listen, don't force this ministry on me because I am not prepared for this. Now, there are people who have their doubts about Dwayne Seymour in a broader context in terms of whether he should be a minister at all. It's like, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but it's kind of like Captain Eugene from West Bay. Everybody know Captain Eugene is there for the average man. He's a captain. He, works with people in his community. He has his place. Should he ever be a minister where he's going to be put in a position to, have to deliver speeches, have to head up departments, have to work with chief officers in government? And in times like this, when you have a crisis happen, and this is again the thing, this can happen at any time. So we're like blown away by the coronavirus. But had we been paying attention, there are people who've been talking about this for as far back as at least 2006. The same epidemiologist that I was talking about. Even Obama has talked about it over 5 years ago. Before him, his predecessor, one of the Bushes, I think it's the younger Bush, talked about it as well. We were all asleep at the wheel. Our leaders were asleep at the wheel. The World Health Organization was asleep at the wheel. PAHO was asleep at the wheel. We didn't think this was coming at this level right now, and we were just not prepared for it. But having said that, when you decide that you want to be in a leadership position of a country, no matter how big or small that country is, you have got to be prepared to take this on, any sort of emergency, any sort of a situation, right? It just so happens that this one is smack dab in the middle of Dwayne Seymour's ministry, which is health. Charles, welcome back.
Thank you, Sandy. Sandy, I want to finish my thought on what I was saying about, with the comment about whether he should be made an example of. And I thought, yes, he should be, because he's a minister. And no one should be made to feel that they're above the law. Yet there was someone who responded, well, he's not the only one. As if it was justified because it wasn't just him. You see, this is the problem with our people. Because we like somebody, we feel that what they do wrong is okay. But when it starts with Sandra Hill, it doesn't end at Sandra. It goes on. I mean, if the police went and arrested Wendy Leisure, how long would you think it would be before they come and arrest Big Mouth Charles Whittaker.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
nobody criticizes the government more boldly and the premier than I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see what
And
I'm saying?
you know what is so interesting about that, Charles? When I first heard him talking about when he said media bloggers, my ears obviously perked up because I thought for sure he was going to be talking about Cayman Mall Road because we know this government really has a hard on for Cayman Mall Road, and we're always
Yes.
peddling in fake news according to them. You know, they don't even allow us in press briefings, and that's why a lot of people are asking, why are you not in press briefings? It's because they don't want us there. So Andy says, boy, Sandy is completely reminding me of his altercations in the past. I only recalled the Hyatt. There have been a few. And Louis here says, Charles Whittaker, God bless your heart, that you may be the mouth of the people with courage, strength, and the support of the people when the truth is attached and need to be clear or just repeated. Give the devil an uppercut, TKO, and shamed from our nation. You have my support.
Thank you.
So Chris from YouTube, just a quick one here, says that he's offended because he knows within himself who and what he is.
Amen. I said the truth. The Bible tells you the truth is an offense. You know, I give you an example. A young lady didn't like what I had to say on the same issue on social media, on Facebook. And she said that I was a wannabe professional boxer. I responded, thank you, T, laughing out loud, thank you, TD. Why? Why did I respond that way? There's no merit to it. There's no merit to what she had to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are offended by the truth. I don't hate the guy. No, not at all. I don't hate anybody.
Yeah.
But you must hold yourself when you're sitting in office, public office, making $12,000 a month to a better standard. And as you said, he should read his speeches and prepare himself so when he goes there, he can seem that he put some thought into what is being said. I mean, it seems that he has put more thought into the gibberish he get up there and go on with than he has put into talking about the coronavirus. You know, Sunday, our people need to wake up. They need to become more, begin to enlighten themselves more. You know, the Bible says that who lights a candle and put the candle under the brush where it cannot be useful. If you can read and write, and you're not, but just because you can read and write, you may have went to a university and got a degree. It doesn't really mean you're educated. You're not educated until you're enlightened.
Right.
You can be formally educated and as dark as midnight. People need to enlighten themselves.
Exactly.
Our people need to pay attention to the rest of the world. Just a few weeks ago, I read a Chinese businessman, a billionaire, said that the Chinese president was a clown.
Yes.
For the way he handled the coronavirus situation. They have not seen him since. And they will not. The doctor who first began to tell the world, to tell his colleagues that there was a problem back in December, he was silenced and forced to retract what he said. And guess what? Ironically, he ended up dying with the coronavirus. I don't believe that is true. I'm sorry. That's not what I meant to say. I don't believe that's an accident. I don't believe that was an accident. You know, and this is what happens. So we have countries where people get put in prison for speaking out. People get killed for speaking out, which people have to be careful what they're jumping out there and saying because they like somebody.
Yeah.
You know, when the erosion of rights begin to take place, it never goes back.
Yes.
When does it stop?
That's right.
Where does it stop?
And we're no different. I mean, there's a whole list of countries, Charles, that engage in this kind of behavior. And on some level, we are no different than them when we have a minister of government sit on a platform and say that someone should be arrested not even for their opinion. I want the people to understand this very, very clearly. Not for their opinion, but for the opinion of someone else.
Someone else.
An
But
anonymous person. Okay, we can't find out who they are because they're anonymous, but they dared to comment on your platform, so therefore you should be
you
held
would have to
accountable
pay.
for that. You should be arrested. This sounds like, let's name out the countries that we know that do this shit all the time. China. They
China,
subvert information all the time. That's why we know they're lying about their coronavirus numbers. We know that they had at least 3 to 4 weeks head start on this had they been listening to the experts in their country, listening to the physicians. 3 to 4 weeks could have meant a huge difference had they locked down their country on the spread of this virus. They didn't do it. Thailand, Cambodia, Venezuela,
Taylor.
Bangladesh, Turkey, North Korea. These are countries, when you speak up, you potentially are putting your own lives at
Own
risk.
life at risk.
And ignorance
You,
is bliss, but it is not an effective
an
public
excuse.
health strategy. And when it comes to public health, we all need, they're telling us, and the other interesting thing about even how this government operates, which I think they have to be very, very careful, is they keep saying, go only to official media sources. Only go to GIS TV, right? And even that, I get that they're trying to say, oh, we don't want people to give you misinformation from other sources. But when they tell you to only get your information from their government-run media outlets,
Isn't that what
that is
happened in
the very
China?
definition of what these authoritarian governments do.
Yes,
They have
absolutely.
they have government run media, and they tell you this is the only way for you to get your information. And that's a problem.
Sandy, why do you think that Cayman Mall Road doesn't have a seat at the table? Why you're not allowed to press briefing? Why do you
Yes.
think that is?
Yeah.
Because they know that you would not be in there asking those weak questions that those people ask every day. We are in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. The country is shut down. People are not working. Every day, people are spending. The government, the premier, has left the people to the mercy of the financial institutions. The government has said has really done nothing to say to the banks, "Hey, look, you know how bad you have to be when Donald Trump out heart you." Donald Trump signed the bill into law that the banks cannot take people, the mortgage companies in the U.S. can't take people homes. They will have to, whatever payments people miss, you will have to just put that to the end of their mortgage. That means that when they restart paying their mortgage, it will be as if they haven't missed a day. The premier, the government here has done no such thing, have taken no stance. I read the other day where another citizen, Nola Brown, said he spoke to Saxon, and they told him they're not granting people any holidays on their insurance. If you don't pay, you're going to be canceled. I mean, let's face it. Where is the government? And people are running out there saying, "What a great job Alden is doing." I don't see it. Great leadership would have, before he shut down the country, would have sent all these people home. We saw what was coming. The first press briefing were back in February 2nd or February 3rd. Why did he send these people home? You know you were going to have to close down the country. You saw the whole world around you beginning to close their borders. Leadership
And
would have begun to say, "Let me lighten the load in case this runs 8, 10 months that I want to have my people to take care of. Those who don't have work should all be gone."
yeah, and you know what someone said to me? I actually wanted to look this up because I was having a conversation with a young lady late last night, and she said to me, Sandy, this literally came out of nowhere. And, she feels like even when the government had shut down stuff, that it was a bit of a shock and surprise. And I said to her, I said, really? And she said, in February, her boss at the company that she works with had been talking about this coronavirus, and no one at work knew anything about it. And I thought that is so incredibly strange, Charles, for her to say that, because I'm trying to go back to how long here at CMR we have been covering coronavirus. Now, mind you, we have done so many stories at this particular time, but I want to go back to the very first one that we started to do. And I'm just looking for the date here to kind of put this in context. January the 21st. So from
Well, there you go.
January the 21st, this was on the radar of us here at Cayman Mall Road. We have written countless stories since then, but January the
You ahead of the
21st,
government.
it said CDC, first US case of deadly Chinese virus confirmed. So within the US, it was already there by January 21st. Mind you, they know that it was there before then. And this is why they say to us, even the figures that we're looking at, which I'm going to give people an update here in a minute, even the figures coming out of the US are unfortunately lower than they are in reality, because at the early stage, they were not counting people who were dying, that they were dying of coronavirus. And those bodies have already been cremated. They're not available for testing anymore. And they're so inundated now with all the new cases. They don't have time to go back to early January to see, well, gee, of these people who were dying, how many of them actually did die of the coronavirus? But that's not what was recorded on their death certificates. But it is a lot. So now we're almost at a total of 2 million cases. We're at 1.8 million cases, over 100,000 deaths. Of course, the U.S. has taken over from Italy as having the most deaths now, over, sorry, over 22,000, and Italy has over 19,000 deaths. So back in January the 21st, that was the very first time that we wrote about it. And since then, we've had January 21st, February the 3rd, February the 3rd, February the 5th, February the 11th. By then, we were like, writing. Government issues partial travel ban for China. By February the 25th, when we said, oh my God, this cruise ship that was just turned away from Jamaica is coming to the Cayman Islands. What did we have happening? I'm telling you, the premier of this country was in his WhatsApp group for the Prospect area. And I know this for a fact because people were sending me his messages. He was in his WhatsApp group lambasting CMR, saying that we are fear-mongering. That's the exact term that was used. We are fear-mongering. We're getting this wrong. There's nothing wrong with this cruise ship. The guy on the ship has the regular flu. What's it called? Oh God, it just escaped me. But influenza A. He has influenza A, and there's nothing wrong with him. He doesn't have coronavirus. We're just fear-mongering. So they were not going to turn that ship away, except for the fact that CMR put the story up about how Jamaica turned it away. And the second we put it up, it had over 10,000 people read it, and it went viral.
Again, Sandy, I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank you for your service. I have great appreciation for what you have done. And, I encouraged you a long time before you even started to start this, because I always knew you would be good at this. Here's the facts. I'm going to say something sound crazy, but it's the truth. You have more testicular fortitude than most of the men in this country. And you're a female, okay? And it's a fact, and it's a sad fact, but it's the truth. Too many of our people are afraid. We don't have the courage to stand up and speak truth to power. Most people who you see on social media will come out and say, Charles, you shouldn't say this. They will see me off social media and say, Charles, I agree with every word you're saying. But in a public forum, the same people will then turn and say, you shouldn't say that, they're not right. We have to become bold. We have to stand up for ourselves. I mean, let's look at it. Like I said, people are out of work. We see, check this out. Who is the Minister for Labor? Alden McLaughlin. Have any of you heard him make a mention about Caymanians who are being first to be laid off from their jobs? In fact, I heard him made one mention. He was pushed to answer, and very annoyingly, he said, "I have no response of complaints of that. I haven't heard any of that." Have you heard him? I mean, let's give Dwayne Seymour some credit. As weak as his response was when he said, "We don't want to get into people's business models," it was still better than that of the premiers, who's the Minister of Labor. Yet there are people on the radio every morning praising him about what a tremendous job he's doing. And I keep wondering, what am I missing? Let's go back before this pandemic. What was he doing for Caymanians? We see homelessness growing in this country, and it's among the indigenous population. The highest number of unemployed people in this country is among the indigenous population. None of those things has been of any bother to Alden. You heard, I didn't hear him. I missed this at the press briefing the other day. Speaking, referring to private beaches. That's a message to his favorite people. And we not his favorite people. Then people up in Rum Point, down on 7 Mile Beach, they're his favorite people. We not his favorite people. After we vote him in an election, then we not relevant no more. His record speaks to it. I don't hate the man, but I am not asleep. I am awake. I want people not to look just at the pleas now. I promise you, if the coronavirus only affected us Caymanians based on his record of the things that affected us, he wouldn't be worried about it. Look at everything else that impacts us the worst. He not bothered by that. It don't trouble him. People need to wake up. People need to pay attention.
Yes.
You know,
Marjorie's asking if there might, sorry, Charles, Marjorie's asking if there might be more cases in this small island that we're hearing about. And I think I addressed this earlier. The answer to that is definitely yes. Yes. It would be impossible that we would know every single person in that 53 positive cases that we have, that accounts for the full spectrum of people in this community who have it. That is a clear and obvious impossibility.
Exactly, because I read of a case of I heard of a case where one person, not knowing they were infected and cross-contaminated, traced it back to one person. Cross-contamination infected 5,000 people.
Yeah.
One person. So, you know, our people need to pay attention. Don't just jump today and say, oh, he's doing a great job. You have to look at overall. I don't see what the great job is he's doing today. He's pleading for people to stay home. You see, this don't exempt him, you know. He's not immune to this. Okay? A lot of this is self-preservation too. For all of us, not just for us, for me and you, but for him as well. Okay? When the things affects you and me, when it affects our people the most, Alden is least bothered. He's least troubled. Don't be fooled. He don't have the interests of Caymanian people at heart. As you said, Sandy, you were reporting to people and he was in his prospect chat group criticizing you for fear-mongering. Yep. There might have been a 20,000 infection rate here now had you not blew the whistle. Because he was asleep at the wheel. Yeah, totally asleep at the wheel.
That was February the 25th. And like I said, I can go back to the messages of the person because they kept going back and forth saying, well, CMR is saying this. And I mean, it was all, oh, Alden said this, Alden said that, Alden said you're wrong. And at one point I said to the person, listen, I'm not getting into a pissing competition. Let me just go back actually. This is what was said in relation to that. Let me just pull up this thing here. So eventually they denied, by 7:15 that evening, they made the decision to deny the cruise ship. And that was only done because of this article and everybody going, wait a minute, if Jamaica had the sense to turn this around, maybe we should likewise not allow it. But remember the press release on February the 25th that was from the Ministry of Health and had a quote by Dwayne Seymour in it, basically said that they were not particularly concerned about it. The person had been placed in isolation, suffering from a cough, fever, and associated muscle pains. They reviewed the medical details of the person who'd been isolated, and both appeared to be in stable condition. And like I said, the premier was of the view and said in his group that the person had tested positive for influenza A, so therefore we need not be concerned. And then the minister, Dwayne Seymour, was quoted as saying, in an abundance of caution, in order to provide protection to the health and safety of these residents, the government has denied permission for the cruise ship to call in Cayman as previously scheduled. And that was literally, that came out at 7:15 that night. In fact, the cruise ship was already here when that decision was made, because they must have put that boat in ultra high speed to get from Jamaica to Cayman in the short space that they did, because they were literally here in no time flat. We had photos of it out in the dock, and we definitely had it up there. So this is what the person said from Alden. This is what was forwarded in his group. He said, again, at 9:21 p.m., so even after they denied the cruise ship, they were still lambasting CMR, saying the crew member did not have COVID-19, the coronavirus. He was tested in Jamaica. Now listen to this BS. Why would Jamaica turn him away if he was tested in Jamaica and he only had
and then take him off and test him, and then turn him away?
Never happened. Never happened.
And Sandy,
it says he was
you know what's that,
tested in Jamaica, and it is a case of influenza A. However, we're taking all possible precautions, and the CMO is currently getting travel history, etc. We will err on the side of caution, and if it is considered that there is any risk at all, the ship will be asked not to call in the morning. So again, this is what he was saying to his group, and then he came back with another message and says the cruise ship, this was at 9:49, the cruise ship infirmary on large ship features diagnostic and lab test equipment like backboards for immunization, defibrillators, cardiac monitors, X-ray, EKG machines, and oxygens. In cases such as heart attacks, in emergency cases such as heart attacks, the ship's physician oversees the evacuation of a passenger to an onshore hospital. So again, this was him saying, because my question is, how did they do the testing? That doesn't make any sense. And then he says, these ships are well equipped. Well, apparently they're not, because we know even now some are still circulating around out there. They have to send the test results off ship. They didn't even have testing kits on board.
But Sandy, I want to go back. I want to go back to something I said earlier. You see how well they know they can count on telling our people anything, and we run with it because we don't read enough. We don't go pick up pieces. We go look for ourselves to see. He could tell people. He knew people would put very much thought into it. He could tell them they'd run with it. Jamaica tested him. Why would Jamaica take him off the ship, test him, then turn the ship back?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be?
Not only did that part not make any sense, but look at how long it was taken at that time to get test results back. Days. The ship was in Jamaica that morning. So when would Jamaica have it doesn't even make any sense. Now,
exactly.
I think what he could have been trying to say, and he didn't really say it correctly, is Jamaica tested him for influenza A. But just because you have influenza A, the medical experts have said to me, that doesn't mean that you don't have coronavirus. But again, why would Jamaica just test him for influenza A when they already had determined that they were not allowing the ship to dock?
Exactly. So how did he get off the ship? Jamaica didn't test him. And thank you again, because if it hadn't been for you, we might have had a greater number of cases here of coronavirus now than we do. I want to point out something else again, because our people need to be reminded constantly, and that's what I'm here to do. People need to keep in mind, and all of this praise that I hear issued for the premier since I've been on the island for the last month. People must remember, when I say anything that affected our people, remember we heard the talks about the legal practitioners bill. If you remember the last time he was premier, his government actually had the law fraternity draw up a law, take it to the LA, and they were going to pass it. Had it not been for Arden McLean, how much of that do you think was favorable to the local Caymanian people? Our people are already having a tough enough time getting into that profession. You think any of that was favorable to us? And people believe that he is looking out for us. People believe that he cares about us. He does not. He is not for Caymanians. His record doesn't show it. What education minister closes down the middle school? Let me tell you all something. We have not seen about another. It's 2012 that process started. 2005 that process started taking place. We will see the effects of that in 10, 12 years from now. What that has done. Why in most other developed countries in the world you're not finding 10-year-olds going to high school, from primary school straight to high school with 16-year-olds for more reasons than one. No persons. Those kinds of things, they build poverty because some people are it's gonna become easier for people to fall through the cracks. And you remember, Sandy, it was this same very premier who said in his first term as premier, well, some people are gonna fall through the cracks. That's just the way it is. That's that's the drift of his views on who are the people. He is ensuring that it's you and your children. Come on, wake up. Stop lowering your voice.
Well, it's not going to be me and mine, I can tell you that. Not if I can help it.
Sandy, it's not going to be me and mine. Sandy, it's not be. My son is already.
That's why someone mentioned earlier the importance of education. And I know that we often say, formal education doesn't mean anything if you don't have any common sense. And education and intelligence are not necessarily the same thing. But once you can at least get a piece of paper, you have a chance at understanding, number one, things in context and what's in the bigger world. And it opens up certain doors and certain opportunities to you that you will never have otherwise. So our focus as a country has to be educating our people.
And that is true, Sandy. And I get where you're at. But guess what? It doesn't prove true in the Cayman Islands under the leadership of Alden McLaughlin. How many qualified Caymanians cannot get work? He is the Minister of Labor right now. Have you heard him mention? You hear about Caymanians being first to be laid off. I read where the one lady said she worked for the law firm, but she worked for this firm for 20 years. In 7 years, she never got a raise to pay.
Wow.
It was nothing for her to go in the bathroom and see other Caymanians in there crying. Wow. Have you heard Alden McLaughlin make mention of that? Have you heard him make any mention of labor issues in this time?
Yeah.
And another thing I want to touch on, Sandy.
Let me just read this comment.
Go ahead.
Charles, you may want to respond. So Catherine Solomon says, Charles Whittaker, what do you have against the Honorable Premier? He's a great leader and doing a very good job during this pandemic. I suggest you shut your mouth up.
What I have against Alden is I am awake, Catherine. One day when people like you wake up, you will arrive at where I'm at. It'll be too late. Alden does not have the interests of this country at heart. He has been elected for 20 years, and for 20 years, his record shows it. I don't hate the man. I mean, hell, his wife is my cousin. His 2 children is my family. I don't hate the man, but I'm not asleep. I'm awake. One day, you will catch up. It'll be a day too late. If the majority of our people don't wake up today and see the record, you know what they can't dispute? She cannot dispute the things I say. Dispute the things I say. The things I am speaking of is Alden McLaughlin's record. Those are his record. Those are his deeds. I'm not making them up. Is he not the Minister of Labor?
Yep.
Right this very minute. Now, Sandy, I was saying there's one more thing I want to comment on real quickly before I forget. As I said before, the country's in a lockdown. People aren't working. Most people's money supply is not coming in. I think that I have known of Woody Foster's always been a nice person. But at this point in time, I think it's time for him to be a good humanitarian and lower the cost of goods in his supermarkets. If he does that, all the other supermarkets will have to follow suit. Some may say, well, he's going to lose. Listen, the more people run out of money around here and hunger begins to set in, people are not going to watch their children starve. If that takes place, just last night I was reading at 3 o'clock this morning, as a matter of fact, that a large meat supplier in New York has closed down until further notice. And apparently, it's more than one. What happens when,
Okay.
again, for the government, if we have a shortage of food supplies, period, altogether? That's another thing. But I think at this time, Woody should be a humanitarian and he should lower the cost of goods in his supermarket. It will force all the other supermarkets to lower their prices. And it's a good thing for him to do. I think it's the right thing. If I was in his position, I would have done it already. If I was in his position of privilege, I would have done that already. The government should be bringing these things because you're asking people to continue to stay at home. The country shut down. People not working.
Well, let's
If this
take a
thing
few
continues,
more comments here, Charles. So Nicole
go
says,
ahead.
stop arguing and unite. The disease is going to affect everybody. There's going to be horrific times. We are where we are. Yolanda says, February 25th was the day I'm hearing about the ship pulling into spots. I went to pharmacy to look for masks. It was my trigger to prepare. Well, that ship actually came 4 days later with our first and only coronavirus, our first infection and only death was that Italian man, and he came in on the 29th. And again, we had heard rumors about his arrival. We had heard rumors that he was a suspected coronavirus case, and both the facility at Health City has denied it to this day. They said they had no suspicions that that was true. Clearly they should have, but they said that they had no suspicions that that was true, and therefore they did not act accordingly and did not treat him as though he was an infected person, and that is why they were actually the first epicenter of an outbreak in the Cayman Islands, because again, somebody was late to the show and simply not paying attention. And to this day, I don't get that. I do not understand why they could say that they had no suspicions, no reasonable suspicion, and no reason why they thought that this man should have been treated with complete isolation and care. But there you have it. And they
How did you have suspicions, Andy? And the doctors didn't.
And not only
and you know what,
I had a
Andy?
suspicion, but the people who were
50
messaging me had their suspicions as well.
Exactly. And the 53 cases that we have here now could very well be a spin-off of that. Or some of them.
Yeah, for sure. Some of them, yeah. I mean, there's
You
no
know,
way to contain, yeah. So a few more comments. Charles, what you're saying makes sense. I agree with you for talking for the people. All the government is doing is giving people false hope. You know, I want to make this extremely clear. I have been supportive after the government got with the program. I have been 100% supportive of them trying to do what they're doing in terms of closing the borders. You know, the next wave will have to be to let people leave, to let people get out of here. The stay-at-home provisions, the shelter-in-place provisions, the curfew, all of those things I have been more than supportive of. So even when we talk about the early mistakes that we made, you know, somebody else said, you know, let's forget about that. Let's just move on and stand united. That's fine. We are united in this moment in time, but we can never, ever, you know, learn from our mistakes if we do not reflect upon how we got where we are. So John says, all I have to say is there's many more to think of. It's time to stand united, not divided. That is what the devil wants. Let's pray for each other and our country, especially for the leaders. And if we like it or not, there are leaders we have and we need to support them. Jesus Christ is coming soon, as it's time to be prepared. So from my perspective, what I want to say is at the end of the day, you know, we have to be focused on this fight together. That's why we're having this discussion. However, that does not mean that we cannot have an intelligent discussion on what has already transpired. How did we get where we are? So that we do not end up being another Trump, where this man was saying initially that the coronavirus was a hoax. This is what he got on national TV and said to his own people. This is a perfect example of irresponsible governments, right? A free media is not just anecdotal. This is the real world that we're living in. We were the ones who were putting the information out there early on, and I know for a fact that there are people like Dr. Drew and other celebrity physicians who were saying, "Oh, hold on, you guys are getting too up in arms about this coronavirus. Don't put this out of context. Don't start fear mongering. Don't get upset." And it was like, all of that was precious time that we were trying to compare this to the regular influenza flu when the two are nothing alike. So only now do people get a true sense of what coronavirus is. It's not the flu. And it is killing way more people than the flu ever could in a year, despite the fact that the flu does kill thousands of people. This is a whole other ballgame. And because we were listening to people going, "Don't panic, don't do this," Brazilian president called the virus a fantasy, and preventative measures he termed as hysterical. And then again, he had to eat his own words at some point and tell people to stay home.
Yep. It's the same thing.
President Andres Obrador had rallies. Imagine this. He was holding rallies where people hugged and kissed and shook hands with supporters, all after the coronavirus had already broken out in their countries. But again, they were being delusional and giving the people a false sense of security and delusion as well. So a free media is incredibly important and highlights such irresponsibility. How would a silenced media be able to do that? Anything governments do would go unchallenged. And that is the biggest issue that I have with what transpired on Saturday. I don't have a problem with Dwayne Seymour crying. Listen, we're all human beings. I've sat here not that long ago and cried on this program. I mean, it wasn't related to hurtful words or anything like that, but it was something that my own sister had done, and I didn't think that was appropriate. But it wasn't even her words that made me cry. It was just sitting here reflecting on a history of family dysfunction that brought me to tears. And I tried to express that, the best way that I could in that moment. But when I have a minister crying, like I said, I have no problems with him crying. I would have rather him cried and explained to the people why he was crying, what the issue was, why his feelings were hurt, that despite him sometimes being a bully himself, that he actually has feelings, and this took a turn in him because of the fact that he himself doubts his own capabilities. And that is why this struck a nerve, because you're not qualified to be Minister of Health. And we all know you're not qualified to be Minister of Health. Even the people sitting on the panel with you know that you're not qualified to be Minister of Health. And sometimes their body language can't help but say, "WTF, what are you talking about?" And we see it all the time. But where, for me, he stepped over the line, and someone said yesterday, "Oh, the day that CMR defends CNS, we know things are serious." It's not even about that for me. CNS and I have a very good relationship. Wendy and I talk all the time. There's no tumultuous relationship between us because in many respects, we're in the same boat. The Compass, until recently, well, they haven't been in our boat at all, but now we understand they're having financial issues they claim and want donations and all kind of stuff as well. But, we're in the same boat. So when I speak up on behalf of CNS, this isn't about CNS. This isn't about that anonymous person. This is about freedom of speech, that we can't become another Hungary. Some of these countries, again, claim, like Hungary has reported only a couple hundred infections to date. Nobody believes that. They have actually had a journalist, well, they claim now they've got these emergency provisions in place, that any journalist that speaks out to what they claim is fake news will be jailed for up to 5 years. The Philippine president, again, he's invoked emergency powers. So in a time like this, where the world is topsy-turvy, we are all more likely to give up our rights to the government under the fear and misguise of, "We want you to protect us. That's what we've elected you to do, and that's what we want you to do." And so we're more
Absolutely.
likely to say, yeah, put him in prison.
Well, you heard the other day, Sandy, some people were saying that anyone who uh, criticizes or disrespects the premier or the minister should be dealt with or should be arrested. Well, here's the thing: when that comes down, look at look at the other day. Dwayne Seymour felt that someone writing something on you on Wendy's page, Wendy should be arrested for it.
Hmm.
I mean, where would it stop? Man, you see me say, man, I think you was wrong. That bill did not help Caymanians. Put him in jail. He just disrespected me.
Hmm.
People have to understand. People. And when we talk about wanting to being careful about giving up our rights, it's so very true. In these times, people think that the government people. That's why I'm speaking the way I'm speaking to our people, so they don't forget. You have to look at the overall history of leadership. And this is a long-standing history of leadership. 2 terms as premier. And ask yourself, where has he looked out for you? Where has he looked out for you? You heard him naming beaches yesterday, private beaches. Just what we need now. The premier says there are private beaches in this country. I doubt there's any legislation, any
Yeah.
legal
And you know
parameters
what
for
is so
that.
incredibly interesting about this whole thing with private beaches? I think I'll reach out to Miss Esme Smith and Billy Adams and have them come on the show and talk about this, because they have been fighting the Cayman Islands government for quite some time now. You guys might remember, I think it was in January, February, they were in court. It was a closed chamber hearing about beach access and protecting, public right of ways, public access points to beaches. So for the premier to know that this is an ongoing battle and still get up and say that they're public beaches when again the legislation doesn't say anything about public beaches in the Cayman Islands, and knowing that again there's this fight that is at our doorsteps. I mean, yes, everything's kind of been put on pause at some level with the court system, but this is an ongoing issue. So I was a bit surprised, and I don't know if it was a Freudian slip or what the heck it was, but I was a bit surprised to hear that. And do not forget the other thing that I want
And
to
consider
say.
he's a lawyer.
Well, very true. And he's a lawyer that practiced for many years. He's a partner
And,
in part
and,
owner of a law firm.
and remember, this is not the first time he did that. You remember the case with the guy at the university, Saeed,
Oh, right.
when he went on the radio and spoke out about that
Yes.
and almost got that
Yes.
case dismissed. And he's a
Yes.
lawyer, he's a trained. But as I said,
Yes.
Sandy, I don't, as I told you in private, I'll say publicly, I don't believe that anything he does or does not do is by accident. He's a very smart guy. He is no fool. Everything he does and does not do, there's an agenda to it. There's a reason for it.
The other thing that I'm reminded of a couple days ago, someone said to me, but this whole thing with the port, I think it was Quincy that said, oh, that's a done deal. They finally listened to the people. Quincy couldn't be more wrong, because they have not listened to the people. That is an active appeal. So the government, the people won the case, but the government has appealed the decision, and it is going forward as we speak. The judges and the lawyers are all meeting by Zoom, and the government is still fighting on this pure issue. So for those of you who think the cruise birthing issue is a dead issue, that is no further from the truth. I mean, the government is spending our money to fight us and fight the people on this issue. So that has not been an absolute victory yet. It's now at the Court of Appeal level. And I guess if they lose that, they might turn around and try to take it all the way to the Privy Council. So that is not
Yep.
a decision that they have accepted.
No. And you must understand, you must make you think. It should make people think. If if they're representing the people's interests and the people you're representing says, hey, look, we don't want this, shouldn't you respect the views of the people?
Yeah.
If all you are doing is looking out for the people's interests, I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so. But
So there's a lot
Sandy,
of people calling for a full lockdown, and Jessica's one of those people right now. Nicole says focus on the common war, which is the virus. John says as well that the war is against the virus and not against the leaders. And again, I don't want anyone to think that we are warring against. Someone said, I missed that comment about tuning down your voice a little bit, Charles. You know, you get impassioned with things, and I know how that goes. And so they're
Tell that
taking
person that
your,
thanks.
oh yes, this is Katia says, Charles, you need to tune down your voice. You don't have to
Thank,
scream. So I think that
thank
she
I
probably
wasn't
doesn't
even
know you
screaming. I was
very
just
well,
talking loud.
Charles.
Yeah, I was just talking. Thank you, but thank you though.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, we all have our means of communicating. Sometimes I get, you know, very up in it as well. And of course, you know, people, there are moments when people enjoy that. And then sometimes I'm so zen. I had someone jokingly say to me with last week's Sunday show on Mario, they said, did you take a puff of something before you did the show? Because you were just like very calm, cool, and collected. And they're just days that you're in that mindset. And there are other days that, like I say, you kind of get, you know, your voice gets raised a little bit and you're a little bit more passionate. But I do both. And I find that, you know, obviously, if I'm trying to hit my points and kind of get through something, I just focus on the topic at hand and try to remove the emotion from it because, but some things, you know, we're emotional creatures. And that's why I say I get the fact that Dwayne Seymour's feelings may have been hurt. But in my personal opinion, what he should have done is he should have just stayed home, take a day off. You're entitled to a day off right now. Say, you know what, guys, I'm having a rough day. Maybe there's something else going on in his personal life that we know nothing about. Take the day off. But instead, what he decided to do was to go on this national platform that has thousands of people across government's YouTube page, their Facebook page, all the different news outlets, make such a statement, blow up the internet, and basically now that's all that we're talking about. So for those of you who are like, let's focus on the virus, it was Dwayne Seymour who opened this Pandora box. It wasn't me, and it certainly wasn't Charles that did it. It was Dwayne Seymour, the same leader that you guys are talking about how much you respect and how much respect you have for him. It was him who decided to put this as a central topic, and anybody with common sense would have known that those comments would immediately go viral. And he made that decision as leader of this country and as health minister.
And what he called for is warrant the
Yes.
discussion. What he called for is a very serious thing. But the reason so many people are saying, "Oh, put that aside," is because of they sounded unenlightened. They
Mm-hmm.
don't grasp the seriousness of what he called for. Sandy, let me
Yes.
say, I give a message out to our people in West Bay. If you see any West Bay representatives, tell them that, you know, as I said the other day, my sister has been having helped some people. I have given her some funds at times to help those people. There are people down here, some Caymanians, some on work permit, who are hungry, who are in need. And certainly, you know, I did send something to West Bay Representative Bernie Bush because I think from my thought was that my sister was in his area, and that's what I thought. She's over in Boston. I think she's in his area. Tell him if there's a direction he could point her to. I haven't heard back from him, and she hasn't heard from him either. But there's a lot of people in need, and we have to look about those people. Believe me, if we leave people hungry, listen, everybody want to go heaven, you know, but no, don't nobody want to die. Okay, we got to look out for these people who are in need. There are people that are hungry. There are people that are having a tough time. People aren't working. Some people were barely working. I mean, after all, again, it was an Aldin government who passed the great minimum wage, $6 an hour. Gallon of milk is about $6. Tank of gas, 1 gallon of gas is almost $6. CI, what, $4 and cents? Ironically, we get gas from the U.S. In some places in the U.S., no gas is $1 something.
Mm-hmm.
Again, where is the government to say, hey, look, man, y'all got to lower these prices on the people? People, you know, if we don't be careful, we have a medical emergency here, an epidemic here. We might have a humanitarian crisis here soon enough. If we start having the more people going hungry, people running out of money. And then we're going to have a crime problem, a real crime problem, you know?
Well, Rhonda
So,
says here on Facebook that she has been visiting Cayman every year for the past 2 years. You're both doing a good um, job, I think she meant to put in there. Think people need to be informed. Prayers to you in the Cayman Islands. God bless and keep you all safe until I'm able to visit again. Please take safety in God. All my blessings. And Andy
thank
says
you,
that
Rhonda.
yesterday, I guess if we were not careful, he says my guess is you would have had a packed church yesterday, knowing this, right? So, ironically, again, the president of the United States had said just a few weeks ago, oh, we'll be back to normal come Easter time, and all of you guys will be able to go to Easter church Sunday and enjoy that time with your friends and family in large crowds, large groups, he said. So again, you have to hold leadership accountable for what they do, especially in time of crises. Like this is the thing that I don't get is why people think in times of crises you shouldn't have anything to say. Those are the times when you are most at risk for being abused
Amen.
by your so-called governments that you
E-
need to
Ex-
keep an eye on their every single move.
Move.
It's
And,
times like
and,
this.
and Sandy, let me say something to you before I want to say this and I forgot. That's why I was so concerned with the back and forth between you and Mario the other day, because that is beneath you and it's beneath him. You see, you two have been two people sounding the alarm here. Mario was a part of the what's the CPR, and you with your Kim and Mario doing a fantastic job of informing the people. Again, if it hadn't been for you, Alden would have allowed that cruise ship to come in, and there might have been more people. A larger case of coronavirus had you not sounded the alarm and stopped it. So you see, when people like you all are busy bickering with each other, see, you know what happens? They say, "Well, let's move fast now," because the people who most speak out against us, the people who are most paying attention to us, they're fighting with each other. Let's get what we got to get done now. See, I had no idea, and most people right now had no idea that the government at this very time was still working on the port deal. They were still working that appeal. You see that? You see what I'm saying? It is important that in fact, when we have our fusses, we need to go in the bush and have our arguments and come back out and show a united front as an indigenous people in this land.
Yeah. Well, listen, I
We need to
said
learn how.
this. I said this to your cousin David, and we have to start wrapping up things here now. It's 9:30, but and I'll say it again here on this platform. As a Caymanian, I hold Caymanians to a higher standard than anybody else because this is our country, and if we're not willing to do right by it and fight in the right way for what we're trying to protect, then everything is for naught, and we can't sit here and blame anybody else for our own demise. We're to blame. And so I do feel that, what Mario did needed to be addressed. But as you know, I'm more than capable of keeping my eyes on two balls at the same time. So that doesn't mean because I am in this moment addressing something that he did, which was blatantly wrong, and I stand by that position. That doesn't mean that I'm unaware of what else is happening in our community and that I cannot juggle more than one topic and, keep people informed in terms of what else is happening in the country. So, we'll see kind of where that situation goes. I don't know if the outcry of that situation gave the minister on Saturday some additional boost, thinking that we or anybody else would be supportive of this overall blanket statement that somebody needs to be held accountable for something that was an opinion, clearly an opinion. That's not fake news. An opinion isn't fake news when someone is saying, this is what I believe, this is my opinion. And in fact, this opinion was actually supported with way more facts and evidence and referrals than even what Mario had to say. So this opinion was well informed. It was a well informed opinion and the opinion of many people who read it. So from that perspective, I think that, it is what it is. And the minister just really went overboard with what he was suggesting. And so here we are again having to discuss this. So we are supposed to have a press conference today at 2:00, folks. I do see tons more comments coming up. I'm trying to get some of them up on screen. Obviously, we do not have enough time to go through them in detail, but I thank you guys for tuning in. I saw the numbers go up to over 400 people this morning tuned into today's show. Someone's asking, where is Bernie Bush? Is Bernie Bush alive? And I will actually, I will screenshot that and send that to him right now, saying, Bernie Bush, people want to know where you are. Where
Thank
are
you.
all of them?
Where are
There's a lot
all
of
of them?
that are
Where's
missing right
McKeever?
now.
Where's McKeever Bush? Where's Captain Eugene? Where's Tara Rivers?
Yep.
Where is all of them? Not just Bernie. Where are all of them?
Yeah. Yep. So Vanessa said, what about McKeever Bush?
I can tell you, this is the first time I've seen any kind of, we've had a crisis like this, but I've seen a crisis, something happening in Cayman, and you have to say, where's McKeever Bush? But you have to ask now, where is he? Usually you know he's somewhere in West Bay because you know of the things he's doing. Can't see him, can't hear from him. Where are they? Are they not still, Sandra's not getting paid off?
They still getting paid, honey. That paycheck.
Okay, just checking. I was just checking. Checking.
Oh, I'm sure. And again, these guys are making in excess of $12,000 a month, folks. So when you want to feel sorry for them, you think about that. You think about who should be feeling sorry for you, who's probably not making even a third of that salary. But you still expected to pay your bills. You're still expected to pay your insurance policies and pay your rent. And you're operating on minimum wage.
Before I go, they taught so little of the people that they gave the people a $6 an hour minimum wage. This seemed very leadership. The only thing sadder than that is that there are Caymanians who was cheering and think that was an accomplishment.
Okay, so DM is asking, are you from Cayman or just got papers? I don't know who he's referring to exactly with that question, but I know he's not referring to me, so I can't take insult to that. And I know he's definitely not referring to Charles because
I just came last week.
long before you even needed. I mean, I'm not going to age Charles, but listen, long before you guys even needed to verify. So this is pre 80s. I was born here, so I know where I'm from. To two
I'm 46. Yeah, I'm 46.
Exactly. So we don't have to we do not have to have our status acknowledged. They know who we are.
Caymanian parents with a family members who served in the legislative assembly. In fact, my great grandfather Charles Gorin Sr. came here from Barbados, and he was brought here to educate only the white Caymanians. Okay, and eventually he desegregated our school system in this country. Served in the legislative in the legislative assembly from 1911, I think, until his death, 1937. Melly Gorin and Huxley Gorin are all my uncles. Gorin Avenue is my family. My father is originally a Gorin, but when he went away to sea, he changed his last name. Well, he kept the name Gorin, but he took his mother's last name, and kept it out of his mother's last name. So should he lose his life because he was so young and she had to sign for him to go, anything should happen to him, she could get his belongings or whatever would be left to him. So that's how I became a Whittaker and he became a Whittaker, but originally Gorins.
Okay, wow. So a little bit of history for those of you guys who don't know. This is why it's important to know where you're from and who your mama is and who your daddy is too. So Vanessa says that she saw Captain Eugene and Tara in the supermarket the other day doing their grocery shopping. Andy says McKeever's hiding out, hoping this alleged assault goes away quietly. You know, a lot of people are wondering what has happened with that arrest. Why has he not been arrested? I don't know that coronavirus should have stopped that, but somebody else, Yvette says McKeever Bush is sleeping. Don't wake up yet. Sue, let's hope it's not one man, one vote. Well, that's unfortunately what we're stuck with. So that's not changing.
Yep. I rallied against that too.
Louis having a good laugh there. Oh, Nicole, he was asking Nicole where she's from. Okay. All right. I'm not sure. Charles, you are very young. Keep up the good work. God bless your voice. A lot of people think you're shouting. Janet says Alden has been generous. Bless him. Foster's gift cards dropped off at a prospect home, $100 worth. Wish other politicians help out in the same way. Now, I heard about these gift certificates last week, and someone was asking me how were they being distributed? Was that just PPM members only that were getting those, Janet? Or how does that work exactly? So, do you know? Is that person a supporter? Like, if I'm in need but I'm not a supporter, can I also get a $100 gift certificate from Alden McLaughlin? Sue says they're not worried about the cost of living. I don't know what Brett is referring to in 2004. Louise said we need to hear a representative speak out. Well, you know what? They can all contact me here in Cayman Mall Road. You know, we have, again, over 400 people tuned into the show today. Happy to have them on board to tell us where they're at, what they've been doing. The invitation is always open. We refuse no one. I don't care who it is or what stories we've written about them being drunk or falling down or beating women. It doesn't matter. We invite you onto this platform because we're all about, you know, giving the people information, uncensored truth, what they want. So if the people are saying, as our representatives, we want you on Cayman Mall Road to talk to us, or any platform, the invitation, the door is always open. Very easy to join our show. Nicole says, I'm from nowhere. I have no identity, born in Hong Kong, Australian mother, British father, schooled for a part in France. So she's a bag of mix up there in terms of where she's been and where she's from. Makiva went to England with the premiere. I haven't heard of his return. Oh, he's back. He's back. He's definitely back. Andy says that my mic is low and his mic is loud. Just an FYI, I can barely hear you. So I was not aware. I hadn't changed any mic settings. I'm speaking, I think, at the same level. So I'll get a little bit closer there. And then make your voice be heard, Charles, loud and clear. And Vanessa, who's paying the MLA pockets or government? Good question. $100 gift card, really? Well, there are people in this community who are in need. So Janet says, I don't know if it's just supporters or just Prospect area. Well, I know not everyone in Prospect has received it. So there has to be some method of distribution. What someone said to me, and I tell you, this is how CMR gets information. We know a lot that's going on in this country that sometimes we don't always say. So this was from, let me just back up. Let me see here. PPM, this was on, what day was this? This was on, I'm trying to go back here. This was on Friday, it looks like. I got a message saying PPM handing out Foster's gift cards to select people. And they had this little face emoji. Don't have, and I said, any pictures of this? Because everything we put up nowadays, I want to claim fake news. So we need photographs, we need evidence, people, because CMR, we're too cute to be in jail, and we got a job to do here. So we're not about prison life. So I said, do you have any photos or anything? Don't have any, but a few people have told me, put it out there and see what you hear. And I said, well, just like I just said, they ain't locking me up for no fake news. So let's see what else we can find out. And the person that said it is definitely not fake. So Janet has confirmed it's not fake, and we heard it from Friday. So we'd like some more information on those gift cards, because there's a lot of people who are contacting me who are in need, and I need to know to refer them to Alden or whoever is handling that for him, so that they can get their $100 gift card as well. The Cayman Islands Food Bank, they've been doing such a wonderful job. Hats off to them. And, they have been getting sometimes 150 meals out per day to try to feed the needy in this community. So DM said, if censorship thing put in place, Sandra gone to prison laughing out loud. No, Bobo, that not happen today or any other day. That not gonna go down like that. Kaylee says Cayman is headed towards a humanitarian crisis. Thank you, Charles, for bringing this issue to the forefront. It can no longer be swept under the rug. We are an island nation. Food should not be a problem in a pandemic. Well, listen, we have to import every single thing in. And just like how the US government stopped our shipment of masks, some 50,000 masks, I think it was, and 8 ventilators coming into our country, and then President Trump gets up on his platform and talks foolishness about, oh, how he's trying to protect his borders from drugs. Someone needs to explain to me, how do you protect your borders from drugs for an outgoing shipment that's coming from your country to the Cayman Islands? Trump, for you, even for you, that makes absolutely no sense, because you've said some dumb things in your presidency, and that has to be one of the dumbest that I have personally heard. So Anne says that I'm cracking her up about being too cute for jail. Well, girl, it's truth. Jail life, just not for me. All right, folks, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have just touched the tip of the iceberg here today. So much more discussions need to be had in this country. Yes, we're in crisis mode at the moment, but being in crisis mode does not mean that we stop bringing you the hard, cold truth. Being in crisis mode does not mean that we ignore what's happening in this country. This is what we are here for, so we need to make sure that we're educating you. Charles has his opinion. Like I said, that's the beauty of living in a democracy. Everyone has an opinion, and everyone is entitled to their opinion. And if you can deliver that opinion in a respectable manner, give the reasons why you have your opinion. Anyone is welcome to join us on this platform. I do not have any issues with that. Charles, you look nice and clear right now. Thank you so much. Your internet must have improved while we were doing the show. Thank you so much for joining the program. And I did have a private message that I wanted to share with you, because again, here at the Cold Hard Truth, we don't lie. So we give you the information. So someone says, they're liking what they're hearing today. They said he's making a lot of sense, but I need to see some consistency from him, because not that long ago, Charles was saying that he was supporting the Speaker of the House in the most recent and all past attempts to silence the media and penalize those who publicly contradicted him. So they're asking if they're going to be able to see more consistency from you, and why would you have been supporting McKeever Bush when he was making attacks on the media? So I don't know specifically.
I would like anyone to show me any evidence that I said I supported McKeever and censoring the media. Nobody enjoys their free speech more than me, and few people understands around here as well as I do that when we threaten Sandra Hill's ability to speak freely, you have threatened mine. So people can make assumptions because I may have had a position of support for somebody for some, but doesn't mean, just like the port deal. I used to support the idea of a port in Cayman, but I never supported the port in Georgetown in the harbor. I never thought it was the right place to put the port. I never thought that. I no longer support the idea of a port because time has gone on and more information has become available, and it changed my mind. Only a fool can change his mind. But I would never support anybody being able to infringe upon my rights to speak freely. And therefore, if I support it for anyone else, I have supported it for myself. Yes. So the person is wrong.
Okay. Well, Bertha says, I'm a diehard PPM, but the truth is that Alden is a disappointment, and I hope that he try to make things better for the people who we all know he's not a people person. Come on, Alden, make us the PPM community proud. People need help. Leave your attitude home. And Trenwick, this will be our last comment of the day. We're going to be in the same boat. I think we need a captain, not a dictator. Interesting.
Amen.
So, final words for today that I want to leave with all of you. We cannot, again, say enough for the protections that as a democracy, we have to fight. It's an ongoing battle for freedom of the press, freedom of speech. CNS has said It is not their policy, despite what Dwayne Seymour has indicated, to not post up a comment just because it was favorable to someone else. That if you see you've submitted something to them and it's not been posted, it is because it either is against the law, so in other words, it's defamatory, slanderous, whatever, or it goes against their own policies. So you've probably gone overboard with your comments. So whoever he had put up to defending him were probably going a little bit too far, and that is the reason why CNS did not put the comment up. It has nothing to do with the fact that it was a comment for him. So I want to leave you with some final thoughts for today. And we all know this Holocaust Memorial Museum quote that says, "First they came for the socialists and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists and I did not speak out because I'm not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me and there's no one left to speak for me." Folks, Cayman Mall Road is all about trying to give the people of this country a voice. Even when people are attacking us, at the end of the day, we are still giving your voice some space out there in a very, very hectic world. When things get highlighted on Cayman Mall Road, people pay attention. The government pay attention. They watches our every move. I can assure you of that. And so when we put these shows together, we put issues together, it is to try to get them, to agitate them, to do their jobs, to be advocates on behalf of the people. But we are your biggest advocate. We are the biggest advocate of free speech. We're the biggest advocate. We know it comes with, as with all great powers, it comes with a certain amount of responsibility. So we stand with Cayman Mall Road. Many of us don't necessarily see the Compass as independent journalists any longer after they got in bed with this GIS combo thing that they're doing right now. But even the Compass, whoever it is, we support your ability to have an opinion. What happened on Saturday was nothing short of disgraceful, in my opinion. The suggestion that a media house should be held responsible for the comments of someone else. And there was nothing wrong with those comments. And we would ask the minister if there was some other comment that he's referring to that we may have missed, and this isn't even the right comment, clarify the point. But sir, you have opened Pandora's box and you have created a firestorm like none other that we did not need in a time like this, a time of crises. And this in and of itself begs to question your ability to even lead. I mean, what minister of health during a crisis like this decides to turn the attention back on himself? Today is a soft curfew day, by the way. But what minister would turn the attention back on himself so selfishly? And tears, right? Rolling down your eyes. Woe is me. This is all about you. This isn't about you. This is about the people of the Cayman Islands. So for those of you who are talking about unity at a time like this, being unified, sending the right message, I agree with you 100%. But that starts with our leaders. He set a poor example on Saturday with those comments, and he called for the wrong thing. So now that a firestorm has ensued, all of his supporters are trying to jump on us and say, oh, well, let's not talk about it. But he's the one who opened Pandora's box. He should be smart enough to know that those types of comments would elicit this type of response, because we do fight for our freedoms in this country. This isn't China. This isn't Russia. This isn't Iran. This is nowhere in the world where we're going to get jailed for 5 years for simply having an opinion. And so any responsible minister of government should not have said those things. And if you are truly a supporter of Dwayne Seymour, you would be honest with him and you should say, boy, Bobo, I like you and all of that, but you were wrong on this. And you can call somebody out. You can say, in this instance, you were wrong. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another segment, morning edition of the Cold Hard Truth. We were the only ones bringing it to you live on this Easter Monday. Thankful that we have the technology to be able to do that and still keep our social distancing. Good old Charles is all the way in West Bay. I'm here in the beautiful district of Bodden Town in Lower Valley, and we were still able to have our meeting. Tell me what you think of the new setup in terms of the camera angle. Do you prefer this angle? Do you prefer how we had it before? Couple IG comments before we shut off. Brow Lash says, the only politician active and helping people in the districts is MLA Christopher Saunders. May God continue to bless him. Karen said Trump is Satan in human form. Dummy Trump. And then Shan says, have a good day. President Trump had a Freudian slip. And Karen says, if you don't need the gift card, please don't take it and allow another family that need it to benefit from it. And I want to say something about that as well, because in fact, my representative, which is Chris Saunders, reached out to me last week and he said, Sandy, are you in need of anything? I do have gift certificates. I do have whatever. And I said to him, I said, Chris, I'm not in need. The day I can't eat and I'm really in need, I will accept help, but we're not there. And so I agree with Karen. If you're not in need, this is not the time to be greedy, folks. I cooked yesterday. I had my meatloaf. I had my veggies. I had my restaurant-style potato salad. I had some salad, and I'm good. And now today I got leftovers set for a couple days, and then later on I'm going to cook some curry chicken. Folks, I'm not starving. Don't take it just because someone is willing to give it to you when you know that there are truly people out there who do not have. Right? And even people out there who come to me for help all the time, I said, listen, in times like this, you have got to tighten your belt. Not everyone is in a position to keep giving and giving and giving. Let's spread it out. Let's give to those who really need it. So Karen says, if Matt comes in CMR, it will be a hot, hot day. That, my friends, might be the day that the internet gets broken. That might be beyond hot. But, you know, again, we extend the invitation. Come on the program. Anybody can come on and join. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We've gone a little bit into overtime. I've got to go and attend to my family. I know my daughter's up by now. She's probably looking for some food. I actually had my apples here for breakfast, and I haven't even had one yet. I'm going to start eating that. Beautiful folks. Have a good day. Tune back in at 2 o'clock. Big thank you to our YouTubers. So now we're simulcasting on YouTube, and we've had a few people tuned in there as well. This is the first time we've had so many people on YouTube. So big shout out to those of you who are joining us via YouTube. Of course, Facebook always has the most numbers. Kyle says that he's coming on the show next week. Not a problem. Folks, have a good one. Love you lots. K mankind. Continue to be beautiful from the inside out and have a wonderful day. Charles, thank you for joining us.